What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Welcome back to Top Bins, the show bringing you all the action from England and Italy, the Premier League, and SerieA. I am your host, Matt, joined by my co-host, Dom. Dom, how are you tonight?
Hey, Matt. Living life, you know. It's finals week at school, so lots of grading, lots of what can I do for extra credit? The original credit. So
you turned in those 6 assignments you owe me.
But yeah, man. I mean, aside from wallowing in a melancholy state whenever Milan plays, life's good.
It could be better. Before we get into the main show today, I got to give a shout out because this episode of Top Bins is brought to you by Beano Board. Beano is the next big tabletop game for your man cave / she shed, tailgates, or World Cup watch parties. No more World Cup, of course, but there's always the Euros to look for, the rest of the Premier League campaign, Champions League, all the good stuff. I got a Beano board for Christmas. It's a great gift. So if you got anyone with birthdays coming up, Valentine's Day around the corner, whatever it is, Beano Board is a game and lifestyle brand based in Phoenix, Arizona. Their goal is to provide the highest quality boards and a true brand experience. Every part of their boards have been tested time and time again for the best possible playability, so that every flaker's experience is a positive one. Bring the world together with Beano and hear someone's story from the other side of the pitch. Our listeners can use code BINHOUSP, that's BINHOUSP, for 10% off any order at beanoboard.com, including the World Cup collection boards, the officially licensed Arsenal and Liverpool boards, as well as board accessories and apparel. That's code BINHOUSP for 10% off at beanoboard.com. Dom, we're starting the show with a more broad discussion about one of the most significant events, I think, happening in all of, world football at the moment. Juventus docked 15 points in Serie A due to what they're calling, or at least the authorities are calling, wage misrepresentation and profit scamming. Juventus are a publicly traded company, so any sort of misrepresentation of the facts of their current finances or any sort of fiddling with the numbers can obviously land you in hot water, not just with any footballing authorities, but the actual Italian government, which is what this ruling kind of comes from. They had wiretaps and discovered a bunch of evidence about a bunch of malfeasance. And it's not just Juventus either, we should say. They have been playing up the victim card a lot over the past week, saying that they're being victimized solely. They're actually not wrong in that. There are 10 other clubs that are part of this investigation. They just requested a bunch of stuff and documents from Napoli as well, due to their deal with Lille for Osimhen and some other dealings within Serie A. So it isn't just Juventus. It's just Juventus has been punished so far, and it's because of wage deference schemes that they had during the COVID year. Players were taking wage cuts, but then we're getting money refunded back through them in other separate ways, and that was to manipulate their wage structure and their wage bill to help make their finances better. It's a huge impact. I mean, this could have, we don't know the full report either. We won't get that till this Friday, I believe, and then there's not hearings until the spring, so this is far from being resolved. But this story started up in the early fall. Right around the World Cup, the board resigns, so you have a whole new board at Juventus, and now you lose 15 points, and it sort of spirals from there.
Well, we kind of saw something coming, right? When Nedved and the entire front office just decided to jump ship. We were all kind of speculating, oh God, what happened? What's going on? And now everything's kind of coming to fruition. Juventus can really just kiss you, Champions League goodbye with this, in my opinion. I think that this is 15-point deduction is very difficult to come back from, no matter how good your form is. The way that some of these other top 4 teams are playing, most notably Napoli and Lazio. It's going to make it tough for Juventus to try to come back to that. I mean, Atalanta's in the Conference League spot, and now they're up on. They have like a 12-point lead on Juve. So like, it's gonna be tough. But Juventus will always Juventus. They always try to find a way to work around.
Watch yourself, brother, because who knows where these investigations go?
What money does my club have to launder in the first place? We can't. We just don't spend it correctly.
You shouldn't say this was not money laundering. It was misrepresentation of funds and like capital gains. There's a difference. All right, let's not get carried away just yet with all the mafioso talk.
They got some Joe Schmo to flub the books.
Well, so it's complicated. I'm obviously not like an economist, and my talent is only so limited. So when I'm trying to read Gazzetto to get all this, figured out, it could be a challenge. But yeah, essentially the players took these pay cuts, but they didn't actually take pay cuts. But it was represented through their finances that they did. But the players were still getting paid out their full wages, despite taking like a 40% pay reduction or something like that. But they were actually still getting their full wages just through less than legal means in terms of like, again, this is a publicly traded company. If you're misrepresenting how your finances are working, that can obviously, no matter who you are, get you in a lot of trouble. So it does lead to a ton of uncertainty about their future, because this is not necessarily the only punishment that they could face. There's talks of bans of the players involved that were part of this wage reduction scheme. Paratici, who is currently at Spurs, is facing a 30-month ban from Italian football, and it is not totally clear that is just going to be for Italian football. That could obviously spread. That could be something that really affects him. Who knows what it affects the players. There's talk of maybe even the title being rescinded from them. There's like, this is going to continue to roll on. We don't even have the full picture yet. And 15 points, by the way, was above the 9-point asking. The initial inquiries are that for them to be reduced by 9 points, and the committee jumped it up to 15. So they've seen something clearly in here that has alerted them to that. This was a severe infraction, severe enough that it's even worthy of going beyond what was initially asked for in terms of punishment.
So my question is, like, how far back in time are they going? Is it just the recent season? Is it as far back as like when Ronaldo came to the club?
So this is the 20. This stems from the 2020 season, when COVID hit, and obviously, like everyone around Europe is trying to kind of reshuffle finances. This was a big story then, with a ton of players all across Italy, England, Spain, France, wherever, were taking pay cuts because, obviously, and this became a big inflection point between Arsenal and Ozil, if we can remember, where Arsenal was asking players to take pay cuts. Ozil said, okay, I will, if you can assure me that means that, like, like the regular people that just work for Arsenal just as their job are actually going to keep their jobs. You're not going to lay them off. And they didn't give him those assurances. And he said, I'm not taking a pay cut. Like, you owe me that money. I'm willing to take the pay cut if it means that, like the people that just run the club every day on like a lower level are actually not going to just get laid off if you're actually going to use that money that you're saving by taking money out of my pocket to keep them around. And they didn't. And that became a big, this was a story then. And that's where this is stemming from, is those players were asked to take a wage cut, but then they, got that money back. There was a Chiellini WhatsApp message which essentially spelled out the entire scheme. So everyone loves to talk about his MBA and that he's like such a genius. It turns out, like, you don't take notes on a criminal conspiracy. You don't do it. If The Wire has taught us anything, it has taught us many valuable lessons in life. And maybe he should have watched a little more Stringer Bell. Shall we, Dom? I mean, let's just blaze through this, maybe.
I didn't watch the game. You can talk about whatever you want to say. I'll lament after you go over this game, because I turned it on, saw it was 2-0, and I turned it right off.
I think you made a smart business decision. Lazio 4, Milan 0. 4 minutes in, Milinkovic-Savic has a goal. This has just been a little bit of a theme for Milan over the past few weeks, really since like the return of play. Defensively have not been the standard, right? Like, this is a team that won SerieA last season off of defensive displays and has not been back there to that level, at least. And, you look at Lazio, though, and just trending very much in the opposite direction in terms of just how good they've looked. And, they have one of the best defensive records in the league right now, only 15 goals conceded, and they're getting players back healthy. This was a tough game, I think, for Milan, and it's come off the back of a lot of tough lessons. They lose to Inter in the Super Cup, of course. They have that draw to Lecce. They were down 2-0 in that game. They lose to Torino, who's down to 10 men in the Coppa Italia. They capitulate late against Roma. They were up 2-0 in that game, and that turns into it's just been, that the mental focus, I think, has really been lacking for Milan. And Lazio, we're finally seeing a little bit of consistency, starting to string some results together, right? And you're talking about a team that can really benefit from the fact that Juventus should be out of the top 4 for the rest of the season. Lazio are right up there. They're now firmly in the top 4 race and the top 4 spots. They've played good enough on their own, even without Juventus getting the penalty to be in contention. But now have a much higher chance, of course, of actually finishing there.
Yeah, 3 points separates 6 from second. So it's not good that Milan dropped points. Lazio now gets tied on points with Inter and Roma. So those European spots, it's becoming very tight at the top. Although Napoli is running away with the first spot, it's all about Champions League positions now, and the race in Serie A between 2nd and 6th is so close. A game like this really, really matters for these teams. Lazio, they've been on the come up. They're a good team with a good coach, and this is Sarri's 2nd year there now, right? So the system is starting to set in. The players are starting to get used to it. Zaccagni has been playing very well for them, and it shows with his goal and his assist. Although I don't always like to praise Lazio, it's nice to see Luis Alberto get back into the starting lineup. I think that's very, very helpful for them. One of their best players is back out on the field and contributing to their success. I don't know what's going on with Milan, man. The World Cup break, and then everybody starts coming back. These friendlies start going on, and they're losing then, and then they lose when the season resumes. And I don't know, man. I'm frustrated that Pioli isn't giving the younger players, somebody that we decided to pass on Sven Botman for, isn't getting any type of playing time. The loanee from Real Madrid, who most likely will not be bought after his 2-year loan expires, is not getting any type of playing time in the system. Adley gets bought, and it's supposed to be this big signing that's supposed to help the midfield out, and he only gets time in friendlies. We have center back depth, but Gabbia keeps playing over another center back, and that center back's only played in 2 games. Pioli is not giving these guys, a chance to learn the league and develop a little bit more. And then on top of that, we're still dealing with the woes that we've always had, right? Calabria isn't playing the best, so that right side is completely, barren. Teo Hernandez has muscle fatigue, so he's out. We have no left back depth. Dest is playing out of position. It's really, really, really frustrating right now. Krunic is out, so it's very hard to, those holding midfielders in the 4-2-3-1, that rotation's off. Pobega is playing not up to par. It's not just one thing. And to mention, Mike Magnan probably won't come back till March. So
the Magnan story, I think, too, is really underrated for Milan too, because he was also supposed to be back by now. This is an injury that is really keep getting delayed, and that just as an outside observer starts to get you a little worried too, because I don't know. I mean, we should remember too, the season goes till June, so March feels very much like kind of end of season, how much, but even if he does return in March, he's still going to have almost 2 full months of season left to play in, and that could obviously be important to the run-in. But yeah, Milan in a tough place. Lazio, like I said, in just kind of the opposite direction, and again, we say it every year with them, if they can find some consistency, just how good they'd be. And It's a big statement win for them. Even though Milan aren't in their best shape, it doesn't matter because at the end of the year, these two teams will probably end up being pretty close in the standings. So a result like this could be huge once you get to June at the end of the season.
It's a little concerning, from a Milan standpoint with how they're playing, how it's coded. There's nothing, there's no type of confidence that the right signings will be brought in, whether it's in the winter, in the summer. It doesn't look like they want to spend a lot of money. I saw somebody kind of summed it up real well. They were exceeding expectations last season, and now they're kind of coming crashing back down to reality. And I couldn't agree more with that. Meanwhile, if you want to stay at the top of the table, you're going to have to deal with stopping teams that are on good runs of form, and this Lazio is one of those teams. And I wouldn't be surprised when Milan falls down the table and may end up in that 6th spot. Like the 3 teams behind them, although Inter did lose to Empoli, Inter, Lazio, Roma, and Atalanta are all in good runs of form, and they're no slouches. I mean, amongst the 4 of those teams, there's 4 losses combined. That says a lot. So it's going to be tough for them, and I wouldn't be surprised. They end up at 6th. They're linked with players. I doubt that any of them get signed. That's the coach, or that's the rumor mill for AC Milan. You get linked with some top players. Some things look like they're going to come through, and then either when they do, they don't work out, or they just don't work. Remember, Renato Sanchez was supposed to be in the Milan midfield. Now we're looking for Nicolo Zaniolo.
Hey,
Milan labs are rubbing their hands at that one, just waiting for him to be on the training beds in 2 weeks. So,
all right, this has been Dom's therapy session. I hope everyone enjoy. Juventus 3, Atalanta 3. One of the games of the weekend, one of the games of the year. Some great goals. Angel Di Maria just showing it off. Remember when we said that a team would be very happy to have Angel Di Maria for like the next 2 years? Like he'd be a really good free agent signing, just comes
I didn't agree
in.
with that, actually, I think.
And you were wrong, and that's fine. I was giving you credit by saying we. You could have just rolled with it. No one was going to fact check
I'll own up to that one. We'll have that one like weird listener that's like, I'm gonna go look back and listen, and they're gonna bring it up, and I don't want to deal with that. I'll just own up to it now.
It was a great game, and Atalanta have scored 20 goals in their last 5 games. It's truly been back to their, I don't know, their levels that we're used to seeing. Maybe not back to the total performances, but in terms of being an entertaining watch, they're certainly back in their bag. And they've departed a little bit from the team that was defensively very sound at the beginning of the year. They've again reverted back to their previous form. But yeah, 3-3, a 5-2 win against Spezia, 8-2 against Salernitana, 2-1 against Bologna, 2-2 against Spezia, 10-1 against Crema in a friendly right off the back of the World Cup break. So. But yeah, in competitive games, they've been on one, as the kids would say, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. Adam Lookman, Dom, might be one of the obviously we were talking about Kvaradona last week and about signings of the season. I mean, he's working his way up. He's got 11 goals in the league. Had a nice assist in this game as well. He's definitely been one of the impact signings, one of the better signings of the league. He has 3 assists on top of that. So he's leading the charts. He's been just as impactful if you're looking at goals and assists as Kvaradona. He's just a few ticks behind Osimhen in that regard. Yeah, it doesn't feel like he's gotten that much love. It feels like we haven't really talked about him as much.
Yeah, I mean, he's been low-key one of the most electric players in SerieA. I mean, every time he has the ball at his feet for Atalanta, he's trying to make something happen. It's definitely one of the best signings that they've had in a long time. I mean, I'm very curious because the way that Castorina runs this team, you don't know who's ever going to be in attack, whether Luis Muriel's starting or Zapata starting. Pasalic may start and play as a false 9. They have so many options in the attack where they can play somebody there. They have Boga and Lookman on to the sides of whoever's playing in the center. and they just get the job done no matter what. And yeah, Adamola Lookman, it's going to be hard for Atalanta to keep him for an extended period of time. All eyes are on him.
No one wanted him. No one wanted him over the summer.
Crazy.
And it's not like he was particularly bad last year either. Like, just no one seemed interested. And Atalanta was like, I think they paid like 12 million for him. Like, yeah, sure, we'll do that, and flip him for this summer for probably 50. Like Chelsea will probably buy him for 100.
He came over from the Prem, right? Who was he with?
I believe he was with Fulham last year. If I'm remembering correctly.
So I'm guessing. Well,
no, he was with Leipzig. He was with Leicester, and then
that's right. Yeah,
Leipzig.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was right. Right, you go from a player who quote unquote can't get it done in the Prem, and then ends up going to Germany, who everybody says is a farmers league, even though that's the farthest thing from what the Bundesliga actually is. And now he comes over to SerieA. Like he's totally under the radar. Nobody's really paying attention to him. There's not going to be a lot of hype, and he's kind of just had time to just mold into his role at Atalanta. When you look at their lineup, someone has to scream out to you as the main goal scorer, and the main goal scorer can't be a guy that comes off the bench every game. You know what I mean? Like a Luis Muriel, obviously instant game changer, but if you're a team and you say your best goal scorer doesn't start, that's obviously an issue. Lookman's the guy for them right now. I mean, I don't know what else or how else to say it. Like, he's the guy they depend on, and it kind of just makes it easier for everybody else.
Yeah, he's been great to watch, and even on Juventus side, Fagioli, who we mentioned, in the list of just kind of young players that have come up and could be even more important now to Juventus' future. Had a good game as well. Had a nice assist. It was a lot of fun. It was a great game, and it obviously too was a little bit awkward because it comes off the back of all these penalties being assigned to Juventus, and their future a little bit uncertain, but at least still were able to go out and provide us with a really, really entertaining game that I think maybe won't be game of the season, but I think it'll be one I'll think about for a while. Empoli upset.
Good old Nicholas Beans.
Yes. Nicky Beans, baby. Empoli upset. I have this in our notes. Lazio. It was Inter 1-0. Good for you here. Like, I put a nice little treat for you. Like, get you pumped up a little bit. At least Inter lost. They get upset by Empoli. Top four race, like we've already talked about a little bit in SerieA, has really been broken wide open. Like you mentioned, 2 to 6 is separated very narrowly, only by 3 points. And Inter have gotten a little bit of the Lazio disease in that they look great, and then they have these bad results here and there, and it just throws you off equilibrium with them. And it's very frustrating. Obviously, I think a little bit of hangover from the Supercopa win, but they do have Cremonese at the weekend. If there's ever medicine, I think that is it. Get your
Is it?
Your Cremonese shot. I think that does it for most teams. I think most teams have enjoyed playing them this year and have enjoyed the very typical 3 points that they've afforded everyone. Cremonese have still not won a SerieA game. I don't know if I'm tempting fate by pointing all this out and that they're going to get their first one this week against Inter, but it does feel like it's an opportune time to be playing. That's all I'll say. By the way, Dom, you're going to love this for your fantasy team. Hellas Verona won over the weekend. Big win, 2-0. There you go. There's 3 points. I'm just trying to help you out, bro.
Can I ask you a question?
You can ask me a question.
Who did they play? Because I didn't pay attention to that at all.
Hellas Verona this weekend.
Yeah.
They played Lecce. So, I mean,
Do you have Lecce?
I do have Lecce.
Okay, so it helped.
Look at that, dude. That's a 6-point swing for your boy.
Yeah,
look at that. Look at God. Look at all that God has done for us.
God is great.
Napoli won again this weekend. They're just trotting to the title. It's feeling less and less like anyone's going to catch them. They're at the halfway point of this season, and they have 50 points. Only one loss so far on the year. That was to Inter, of course, but they're just looking very imperious, very hard to stop. We're going to head to England. Before we do that, though, I can tell you a little bit about PHI Apparel Company. Top Bins is brought to you today by PHI Apparel Company. You can get it from anywhere in underground sports, actually. You can find awesome merch from us, from Top Bins, from the main show, wherever you're looking. They provide unique designs and high-quality clothing for the great fans of Philly. And with their original designs for all, there's no doubt you will stand out in the crowd. We've got an awesome Top Bins hoodie on there, which you can check out. If you like the main show, there's some stuff on there for you, too. Listeners can use the promo code UNDERGROUND. That's an easy one. It's easier than being your USP. Underground for 10% off any apparel when you shop online at phiapparel.co. That is phiapparel.co. Use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off any apparel. Dom, in England, we had another great game, one of the games of the year, I think, already.
Game.
Arsenal 3, Manchester United 2. Back and forth affair, tons on the line in terms of title race, potentials, and Manchester United were making an outside discussion. There was some punditry about their ability to maybe worm their way into the title race. It felt a little premature, and Arsenal put to bed, I think, a great United team in terms of their form recently, how good they've been, and they've been good against all the top teams as well. Arsenal have been pretty good as well. And, they just maintain this great record that they've been on. It was a great game, back and forth. Like I said, Marcus Rashford opens it up. His scoring has been insane this season. He's really returned to his former self. I actually think he's been a better version of even his former self. It's probably the best he's played in his career, the best he's looked. But Arsenal's show, and it is a cliche, but cliches are cliches for a reason, because they pop up a lot in life. True title winning mentality in this game. I think this is the game. Obviously when they went against Spurs, that really felt like the big moment that you might look back on and think that's where it really turned for them, and that's where it started to become a lot more real. This feels like truly passing a hard test. This was a big one to get by, and they did it in a very dramatic way, in a way that's going to give them a lot of emotion and a lot of belief.
Well, we were coming off of last week saying, it seems like Erik ten Hag has really started to unlock this Man United team, and the way they've been playing has been really well. Like Rashford takes that first goal very well. I mean, it's a very well taken chance, and Arsenal just keep fighting back. I mean, I think I tuned into this game at about halftime. So I saw Saka with his goal, which kind of one-upped Marcus Rashford. Kind of like saying hey, I'm the English star boy.
And I'm going to say this. A little Arjen Robben-esque, a little cut inside.
Isn't he right-footed as well?
I don't know what his preferred foot is. I feel like he cuts in a lot to his left. So I would imagine that Saka might actually just be left-footed. I feel like it's very, very frequent for him. Either way, it's a great goal. And it just reminded me so much of how many times you would see Robin do that. And even someone like Mo Salah, right? I think, really good stuff. Good stuff.
I mean, and then on top of that, to kind of let up that goal, that Lisandro Martinez goal, it was going back and forth, a real hard fought game, and although controversial, Nketiah was onside, and the man who a lot of pundits were questioning would be able to kind of fill in that role that Gabriel Jesus had at the beginning of the season and that impact he had. People didn't think that Eddie Nketiah was the guy for the job, and he's kind of proven a lot of people wrong.
He did it last year when Lacazette was out, and they're making a late push for Champions League, and they needed goals. He came in and scored a lot for them. It's not necessarily new, right? He's coming in big moments, and he's not a prolific goal scorer, but he has found the opportune times to get goals, and he gets one there. Odegaard, I think, is another big takeaway from this game, and how good he's looked. And it brings up to, I think, an interesting discussion, because it sort of has passed us by because so much else has gone on. We've obviously had a weird season with having the World Cup break, but Arsenal's start to the year is certainly put them into some historic tiers now. So here are the most points after 19 games all time in the English top flight. Manchester City in the 2017-18 season had 55 points. They had not lost a game to that point in the year. Liverpool in 2019-20 also had 55 points, hadn't lost a game. Both those teams ended up winning the title that season. Spurs in 60-61 had 52 points. They, of course, end up winning the title. Why am I doing this to myself? I don't know why.
Spurs winning a trophy has to be prior to 1970.
Jesus Christ. Chelsea 05-06, 52 points as well. They end up winning the championship that season. Preston North End in 1888-89. I can't just say 88 and 89 because people will get the wrong impression. 51 points. Liverpool in 2018-19, no losses, 51 points, end up finishing second with 97 points. Very cool.
It could have been
the only team on this list, at least until who knows what Arsenal does this year. But they had 51 points. Arsenal this season, 50 points now. We obviously don't know how this season again. Manchester United in 1907-1908, 49 points. They win the title. Chelsea in 2016-17 had 49 points at this stage as well. So, they've joined a very, honestly, like an impressive list to be a part of. And in some ways, it hasn't quite felt that way. They obviously have to finish the season and have to finish it strongly, but it is a massive start in terms of their ambition, and also is their best point tally to the halfway start. Of course it is, to any start of the season. Their invincible season, they were on 45 points at this stage, so they're 5 points ahead of that mark, and they ended up finishing with 90 points that year. So that's kind of the path that they are on.
Mm-hmm. They're playing just absolutely electric right now. It's so much fun to watch them. I think one of the things that needs to be highlighted for Arsenal is the kind of evolution of Granit Xhaka and kind of how he's really filled this kind of new role that's been asked of him by Arteta and really doing well with it now as he does it, because he came over. He's now 7 years at the club. So 7 years ago he comes to this club. He comes to the club from Borussia Mönchengladbach, and he's this hot-headed guy, always has a knack for a very hard slide tackle, loves to get into the controversial aspects of the game, getting in people's faces. When you see Arsenal red, you're going to see a red card given to Xhaka more times than not. So
you're burying the lead too. Was booed off the field by his own fans.
Yes.
Rips the shirt and the armband off. This was a guy too that's had his own kind of personal. He's made bad decisions on the field, and is obviously his disciplinary record is great. But it's a guy too that within the own fans, was not someone that had a ton of love and support at one time.
Look how it's come full circle. Now they have songs for him. And he's still wearing the captain armband. That must mean something. So I really do think that for all the praise, that they give their young players, Martinelli, Saka, and Nketiah, they talk about the signing of Gabriel Jesus, and you can talk about Saliba and Gabriel in the back and how good Ramsdale is as well. But kind of the Arsenal success and the way that they run their game and everything kind of works through Xhaka. Zinchenko gets open because of, the ball being played in the Xhaka. Players gravitate towards him and forget about that left side, and he plays a ball to him. It's great to see. I was a big fan of Xhaka when he made that move, and I'm very happy to see everything kind of come full circle and see the success that Arsenal has. I really do hope. I really would like to see them win. We kind of need a change of the top two teams is kind of trading it off.
I'll be honest. I would love it if Liverpool won the title race. I think that'd actually be pretty good. I'd take that back in a heartbeat. Are you kidding me? It has been fun. Zinchenko and him rotating on that side too has been an interesting wrinkle within their game, and it is hard. It is hard to watch them and not find a lot of joy in the way they play. Zinchenko's celebration too when the goal gets confirmed, and you could just It's the joy of watching a young team kind of find itself, and that's what you're seeing with Arsenal. And I think that is what makes it so exciting. They're one of the youngest teams in the league, and they're on pace now to win the title. And it's hard to see that's ending. City are 5 points behind. City do have a game in hand, of course, though, or Arsenal have a game in hand. I'm sorry. City have played one more game than them. So, and they actually play each other this weekend at the in the FA Cup, I believe. Let me not misspeak. Let me absolutely double check that, but I'm pretty certain they play each other, if I'm not crazy. So we get our free this Friday.
It's a nice litmus test for them.
This Friday, it'll be a fun matchup. Obviously, it means nothing for the league, any of that, but we haven't seen them play because one of their games got postponed. They play in the league the day after Valentine's Day, February 15th. That's going to be circled, I think, on everyone's calendar as one to watch for sure. But yeah, Arsenal, they've really impressed me this year. Not that they are working just to solely impress me, but it's been a lot of fun watching them. And like you said, I know that I'd love to see them win the title, but they've earned it if they do.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we get into like a more fun part of the episode? A little funny, a little entertainment. West Ham beat Everton 2-0. Frank Lampard, aka sacked Lampard, out as Everton manager. It's just too fucking funny. It's just who could have seen this coming? Only every single person could have seen this coming. I in some ways I do feel bad for Frank Lampard because it's not really his fault. Tons of managers have failed at this club because it is being run very poorly from the inside out. I wouldn't feel bad about it. Carlo Ancelotti couldn't get it done there. Rafa Benitez couldn't get it done there. Like, you know what? Like, yeah, maybe Frank Lampard wasn't the guy that was going to figure it out. I feel vindicated by this. I hated the signing when they made it. I thought it was a dumb decision. I never felt like they had an identity under him at all. At least under Ancelotti and Benitez, there were moments where it felt like this is the way they want to play. I could not tell you the way that Frank Lampard wants to play because I'm not sure Frank Lampard totally knows how he wants to play. It's a big loss, though, in this game because obviously, anytime you're getting these games at the bottom of the table, and they had already lost to Southampton, then you lose to West Ham, now you're bottom of the table, and you're looking for a manager. Oh, and you remember how we were just talking about how good Arsenal have been and how exciting they are to watch and how fluid? That's who you play next. So that's, it's just, it's tough. It's tough to see the light at the end of the tunnel for Everton right now. And good luck. I mean, just don't make another bad decision. That's all.
I've got a question for you.
You've got a question for me.
How funny do you think it is that England's best two midfielders ever just can't get it done as managers?
Well, Gerrard won a title, so I don't know what you're talking about, actually, because he ended Celtic's 9-year run of titles in the Scottish Premier League. Everyone seems to forget about his time with Rangers.
I'm talking about in England.
Well, that's a little different. That is different.
In the Prem.
I'll grant you that. Well, pass.
Wait, didn't both of them also manage Derby County?
No. Only Frank did.
Gerrard
was right from Liverpool, like underage teams to like
That's right.
He was at like U18s and then went from there to Rangers and then to Aston Villa. I think here's the thing. Both of them clearly have ambition, which is fine. There's nothing wrong, and that's a carryover of them as players too. Like you don't get to that level that they got as players individually without being very sure of yourself and constantly backing your ability. However, when you look at the managers in this league, a lot of them, it took 6, 10, 12 years before they're getting these top flight jobs. You don't just get to like skip those 5-6 years of development as a coach and just get right into it. And it doesn't always happen for you either. It's not a guarantee. If those guys, we all know that if they had different names, they would not have Frank Lampard's not getting the Chelsea job if he's not Frank Lampard. Gerrard proved himself in some ways though at Rangers. He genuinely had that team playing very well and had success. I do think it was in hindsight, obviously probably not the best decision to leave. But listen, when the Premier League comes calling, you're going to answer that phone and you're going to take the job. You're going to take the money. You're going to take all of it. Because even if you get fired, guess what? You're going to be getting paid a lot of money to do nothing. So they haven't been successful. I don't know that means they can't be. But I think if I was advising them, I'd be like, listen, why don't you take an assistant job somewhere for a year, then take a championship job, like find somewhere that you can work your way up and develop, and take like the next 3 or 4 years to really develop as a manager and grow and get a clear understanding of what you want to do. That's what I would say. But
sorry, I was reading the text that Kyle sent to the Top Binge chat, and I lost my point that I was going to make, but
the Netherlands, one of the tallest countries on earth. Netherlands.
I just remembered. I was gonna make a joke. You said Frank Lampard doesn't get that Chelsea job if his name wasn't Frank Lampard. If his name was Francesco Lampardini, he still would have gotten it. Chelsea loves their Italian manager. So,
boo!
Get off the stage, you hack!
Oh, brother, this guy stinks. Nah, you know what?
Credit. Give me
B minus for effort.
I'll take it. Give me some partial credit for that one.
I'll give you partial credit for that one. So who knows what Everton are going to do next? Sean Dyche has been one of the top linked managers. I actually don't think that'd be terrible, but he's got quite a hole to get out of if he does. And there's still the financial aspects. Mashiri is apparently looking to sell the club as well, so it's all up in the air at the moment. Manchester City returned to form. They had a great second half comeback against Spurs on Friday night. Or was that Thursday? That was Thursday. The days just run together at this point. That was Thursday night. Really exciting game. Spurs got 2 very quick goals at the end of the first half. City get booed off, and then just come back and score 4 goals in the second half. And then Erling Haaland gets a hat trick on Sunday. It's whatever. It's just what they're gonna do. It's just if I'm an Arsenal fan, that's the only thing that's still keeping me from really and I know the feeling, but you can't ever truly unclench when you have this City team and you still have to play them twice.
Erling Haaland only got a hat trick against Wolves. Only.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how casual it is just to say that Erling Haaland just got a hat trick against Wolves.
He's only got 25 goals in the league. It's whatever. He's already hit his over for the season. His over under was 24.5. It's fine.
I think I won that prediction.
You did. I am not going to mention which side of that I went on. In my defense, in my defense, it was strictly injury related. That was the only reason I picked that. I was like, I'm just going to bet that maybe he gets hurt. And you know what? I accept defeat. Made bad call. It was never a talent thing. Strictly, I thought his hamstring would blow up. You can't blame me for that. I'm invincible.
Fair enough. I'll give that to you.
So, it's shaping up to potentially be a really exciting title race in England. We're not going to totally get that in Italy. It doesn't look like it, at least. But, at least we still have Arsenal City games to look forward to.
Listen, you did say that Napoli is being investigated. So who knows what happens if something comes out and Napoli gets a -15.
If that is how Milan gets the back-to-back Scudetto, I mean, all this whining you've been doing, and then it could end up being a title year.
Yeah, listen, I'm not whining as much as what I've been seeing on Twitter, dude. It's a fucking cesspool on Twitter right now. We've got some people blaming the players. We got some people blaming the coaches. We have certain people just talking about transfer rumors. We have certain people talking about managerial rumors. It's just been all over the place, man. It's sad time, but we move. I just watch the next week of games. Get excited. What we got on the lineup for next week?
So it's an FA Cup weekend.
Excuse me.
It's whatever. Some people's weekend is other people's weeks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In the FA Cup, like I mentioned, it's an FA Cup weekend in England. You got Man City Arsenal. That is clearly the creme de la creme of this weekend in terms of England. You've got, like we mentioned, Cremonese Inter. If you're looking for the upset of the weekend, there it is. No other huge FA Cup matchups that are springing to mind. You got Juventus Monza, that could be fun, and then Napoli Roma on Sunday. That's definitely the big one. Lazio Fiorentina as well. Some big matchups there. Liverpool and Brighton in the FA Cup. Looking forward to watching Liverpool lose against Brighton in the FA Cup. That'll be great. Yeah, not a huge weekend. Napoli-Roma is obviously the runaway must-watch in Italy. So that's our recommendation to you, to put some time away on Friday for Man City Arsenal, and then lock up your Sunday afternoon pre-game, the Birds game, with like a little bit of Napoli-Roma there with a nice tomato pie, perhaps.
I gotta work on Sunday.
Me too, but you know what? I'll be done in time to watch Napoli-Roma and settle in for the Birds. So you know what?
What time is that game?
Napoli-Roma is 2:45. Birds are at 3:15 or 3. So
I work 11 to 8.
that is literally the worst. That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we move.
We move. Money moves always. Dom, anything to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, Juventus, Monza, Andrea Petagna, anytime goal scorer, lock it in.
You absolute freak. You sick freak.
That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, it's fun and games till the fucking Italian Games Commission comes after you next. Yeah.
Hey, yeah. Hey, give me some clout. Any kind of exposure is good exposure, right?
Getting 3 to 5 years in federal prison for clout. We'll see you next week. Well, maybe Don might be calling from prison.
3 to 5 years. According to some of these influencers, it's a lot more than 3 to 5 years, man. 3 to 5 years is nothing.
Call it coming live.
FGIC
from Fort Leavenworth Maximum Penitentiary. It's Top Bins. We'll see you next week, everybody.